morning. I'm Deborah DeBoer. I'm the Director of Professional Development over at the North Shore-Barrington Association of Realtors. And this morning, I am delighted to have I'm really lucky. I get to have a lot of my favorite people on these EDUcasts. This is one of my favorite instructors that we have, and many of you may already know Justin. Justin for years was, and still is, an MRED instructor and one of the best of their MRED instructors. And he's been doing a lot of our other education for us. So Justin, I'm going to start by asking, and let me tell you a little bit of other stuff about Justin. Justin and I share an interesting background in that we both worked outside of real estate when we were doing training. And so he's bringing some other skills and other ideas about training. And that's really what we're going to talk about this morning. Where's training going? How do you get the best training? What do you need to be doing in terms of training this year? So Justin, let's start with the big question. What do you see going forward is going to happen in training?
That's a fun question. I kind of look at it this way, and one of the things that people say a lot of times is they call this asynchronous learning, and they have it, and they say it's a new term. It's not a new term. It's been around since the digital age of training. But what we'll start seeing is a real strong blended solution in real estate, where people are going to have on-demand trainings, they're going to have in-person, and then kind of a side bit, which people are, I think they're calling it wrong, but nonetheless, it's called, coaching, right? They're going to have these different segments where people can get all their training at one time and at their pace and how they get it done. So, it's called asynchronous learning, but really what it is just optional learning, right? I get to come in there and have the options I want when it's necessary for me. But the trick is, for most of us, is we still want this. We want that human interaction. So we as real estate professionals and trainers have to figure out how we're going to make that happen, either virtually or in person.
I would agree with you. We're going to have a lot of different blended learning. Do you really foresee people coming back to the classroom and doing traditional classes again?
Oh, for sure. For sure. It's always very easy. Every time we get a new thing that comes out, a new promise that comes out, everybody says that's going to be the end. This is probably the third or fourth time I have personally heard this is going to be the killer to instructor-led classes. And we're human beings. We want to interact. We want to have the interaction. And right now, this is great. It doesn't do everything that we like to do. It doesn't have that physical closeness that we kind of yearn for. Now, don't get me wrong, will it come back in the same intensity that it was that we just had before March? No, it probably will never be to that stage again. But I always do think you're going to have that, right? We're going to have those situations that are out there. The trick, I don't think, is necessarily going to have the learning in class is really the question, I think, is how quickly can we pivot for a class to go virtual if we have to, based on the demands of health, economics, whatever is going on at that particular point. I think is going to be the bigger trick to this. How flexible can we be, and how quick we can pivot.
Here we are doing Zoom meetings right now is the way we're podcasting, but we're doing it using Zoom. I'm teaching most of the classes using Zoom. Quite honestly, Justin, there's some struggles that I'm finding as an instructor doing Zoom, keeping people's attention, the length of time of classes. So we've had to pivot some ways. What are some of the things you've learned doing, and I know you've been doing a lot of online learning. What are some of the things, the tricks and techniques you've used? And I would ask you to think of it both from the instructor side and also from the participant side. How do you make that the best experience that you can?
Well, to be honest with you, I've been doing virtual training before virtual training was a thing. I have been doing that since, how long ago was it now? Probably 2000, roughly 2003, somewhere around there. It wasn't great. We couldn't do video. It was audio, and it was screen grabs and screen shares. That was really about the most sophisticated we could handle on the internet bandwidth. So I've been doing it a long time, and I'll be honest with you, a couple tricks that I have found very early on is to spend time up front letting people chat with one another and to encourage the chat box, right? I have a lot of instructors that want to just talk to me this way. I'll let you raise your hand and do this, and that's fine. Those work. But that chat box is something we should not be scared of. That chat box is huge for us because it is how they're going to interact. The reason Facebook Live takes off so well, Periscope was before that, is when I'm talking, those folks, YouTube Live right now, those folks are chatting with us and there's a scroll feed going down the box and we get to sit there and they get to interact and they feel like they get to be part of the conversation. So some of it is just us being used to the environment that's going on and encouraging them to, when they chat to everybody, not just me, chat to everybody. So everybody can see those questions, everybody can see those comments, to get that going on. The other thing is I love Zoom. I've been using Zoom for almost 4 years now. And I love the breakout rooms, right? So if I have a question, I want to break them out so those guys can have a chance to talk. Now, what I have been doing lately is the very first thing I do is break them into breakout rooms. So they get to kind of network with one another real quick and just have quick conversation, who they are, what do they do, how long they've been in business, things like that, just real quick in a short format. That way they just, kind of an icebreaker type thing that helps a lot with that. The other thing is have fun. I'm not the biggest goofball in the world, but I always try to have fun with it and do some things that are a little more virtual. One of the things that I am playing with right now is there are some virtual wheels, like the game prize wheels that you can spin virtually and have questions pop up and things like that. So I'm doing things like that to make things just a little bit more interactive.
And I'm going to switch topics just a little bit. Again, for people who are managing brokers, for people who are doing Zoom with their clients, for everyone who's using a platform, Zoom or Teams or something like this. Been an interesting Monday morning start to one of our classes. The platform that we had, we were all ready to Zoom, and then all of a sudden this call started coming in. We can't get in, we can't get in, we can't get in. We were really lucky. We didn't have an enormous class. We had a smaller class. But it brought to mind the need, and we were able to flip them to one of the other platforms pretty easily. But talk a little bit about the need for, when you're doing technology stuff, flexibility and redundancy, Justin.
Oh, I think it's huge. But I was actually just talking to my mom yesterday about this. Everyone was talking about Zoom going down yesterday, and luckily, I wasn't teaching yesterday. I was just working on a project, so I didn't realize it until I saw news articles pop up. But I looked and just said, throughout time, we've always had to adjust based on where things were at. Power goes out. If I'm in the classroom, I can't teach on the PowerPoint. I have to have my handouts in front of me so I can get ready to teach that way. I've always had to have options. I've always had to have the ability to change on the fly when things are out there. And I have to be okay with that shift. Most definitely these days, you need to have a secondary solution for whatever you're going to do. So if Zoom is your main platform, I love Zoom, then, Google Meets, have that in there, have Teams in there, as you were saying, Deborah, have those, those products available to you that you can do it, have those other things. Now, if the internet goes out, we don't have much control of that. But the other thing I would tell you, if power goes out, I'm not done. If it's just power that goes out, I'm not done. I have my phone. I can hook it up to the internet. Right. My phone is a mobile hotspot. I can do that on a fly and I can make sure that's out there. Now, if the internet goes down completely, I got no shot. But I am not worried about almost any situation for me to keep a class running. I think I can have it done at all times. Another thing to think about when you're having these type of things, have now, and they sell them, have an external battery for your laptop, for your hardware equipment. That way, if you are loose of power, you still have the ability to keep charging and keep moving. But yeah, I need to have those options on the fly for sure.
And you've mentioned 6 or 7 different things already that we all need to be conversant about. So my next question is really a simple one. If I'm an agent doing business right now, I am overwhelmed by the products and services that are being offered to, it used to be bad when they were just selling me leads. Now they're not just selling me leads, Justin. They are selling me different things to do, and I'm going to say different things to do all sorts of different things. You still sell a little real estate. You're pretty busy with your real estate career. If you were a brand new baby agent starting, brand new, what would you say? I used to be able to say, well, you need MRED, you need this, what does a new agent need in their tool bag to do business these days?
Well, I love that question, because every time I get done with an MRED class, or I get done when I teach a technology class, because I am the big old nerd in the group, everyone comes for me for the big old nerd questions. And the first question they come in here, what do I got to do? This is overwhelming. This is scary. And it is. I mean, in all honesty, I'm not going to lie. All the technology in the world has to be done. And we get told in every class we attend, you have to. And there's a lot of truth to that. There's absolutely a ton of truth to that. But the problem is what we have forgotten sometimes as the instructor is we didn't do all that stuff the same day. Right? We've done that throughout our 5, 10, 20, 30-year career in real estate, and we have picked all this stuff up at a point in time. So for me, I think right now as a real estate agent, there's just a couple things that you want to be able to do to be proficient. One is you need to be able to know your market. So you need to get, just really, to be honest with you, good with the MRED tool, right? You need to get good with the MLS, learn how to search, how to get around, navigate around there. Because if you don't know your market, you don't know what you're selling in real estate. So for me, that's one of the biggest. Two, I think the next thing in here is you got to have some sort of digital footprint these days. Now, if you take the ePro class, and I am an ePro instructor, but if you take the ePro class, they talk about your hub being your website. If that's what you want to be as your central focus, make that your central focus. But I think these days, many things could be your hub. For instance, NSBAR is doing a lot of these Zoom calls, these casts, right? These podcasts out there, they're on Facebook, they're on these portals. These are a great tool to get out there and make sure you have a physical presence that's out there in real estate. Doesn't have to be anything exciting, but you do want to have some sort of physical presence out there so people can find you, and you need to be found where your market is. So to me, that would be the two things. So it's either video, podcasting, blog, something like that, some sort of physical presence on the digital world, and then be on the MLS. The next stuff will come to you when you need it and when the demand is there for you to need it. Now, with all that being said, as Deborah said, I throw technology out all the way and I love all my tech. My mantra is really simple. Master one thing and then move on to the next. Don't worry about the other stuff until you have got that one down. Otherwise, it won't matter anyways.
Okay. And we'll shift again. What's the favorite thing you're teaching right now?
I'm sorry, say that again?
What's the favorite thing you're teaching right now?
You know, the favorite thing I'm teaching right now is digital prospecting. I love prospecting in the digital world. It's something I have done very successfully throughout my career and throughout my history of real estate. I grew my database from 400 to 1,600 pretty much overnight. Now, when I say that, that sounds like a huge exaggeration, but it was about 18 months. I went from 400 to 1,600, and it was only from internet lead generation. So that's the fun thing I'm having right now. I just got done with a training class, Video Made Easy, to do that stuff. But for me right now, it's about learning how to build lead generation pages, what are called squeeze pages on the internet, where you have that in there. People then sign up for that because they want that product. They want that giveaway, that freebie, that information that's important to them. And you have now captured that lead. So now you can then work on converting it to becoming a buyer, a seller, an investor, whatever it may be. But that's, to me, the new funness right now, especially in the digital world today, what's going on. We don't get to be out in front of as many people. We need to find a way to do that. And I don't know if your question is going this way, but the next fun thing that I want to be teaching very soon is how to convert seminars into webinars to make them lead generation.
All right, we'll talk a little bit more about that because you've now dropped that. What are you talking about there, Justin?
So webinars for many internet marketers are really the new hotness. It's been that way for probably about the last year, maybe a little bit more. And what they are is a lead capture program. It's really all they are. You're going to give bits of information that are out there that will give you whatever topic you're talking about. So let's just take first-time home buyers as a seminar, right? We'll take that as a webinar. I will then partner with some experts in my industry, a mortgage person, an attorney, a CPA, or a financial planner, something that I'll plan with these folks, and I will build a 1-hour webinar. Ideally, if I could get it to 45 minutes, a half hour, that's what I want to shoot for, but usually the first I'm going to shoot for a 1-hour webinar. And with that, I'm going to give information, how to find the homes, how to get financially ready, the tax benefits for all this stuff, you know, how to legally stay safe, all these things I want to do. I have this in a conversation, all the questions that a first-time home buyer is going to ask. And they're going to sign up because they want to know, right? They're in that I am thinking about buying stage, but I think I don't have the right credit. I don't have enough down payment. I don't have these things. And I want to be able to ask these questions to a professional. And now I go out and market it online. I go market it on Facebook. I go market it on YouTube, on Twitter, on, you know, Google Ads, whatever it is. And now I will draw, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20 people a day, or a seminar session. And I'm generating leads almost at will. And it's a really easy thing to do. And the nice thing about it is, once you have done this and you have done it successfully and you put the right energy into one of those webinars and you recorded it, you can now make it what's called evergreen. And evergreen, without getting real nerdy on this, evergreen just means everlast. It lasts forever. It will run it over and over again. It's not time-based. It's not seasonal. It's nothing like that. And you don't have to be there. So once you got it out there and you couldn't run it one week, you couldn't be there, you could just run it, build the lead generation. It'll be there. People will listen to it. And there are all sorts of softwares that do that these days.
Something that you were just talking about reminds me of, it is, we are struggling, I think, in the real estate industry. Our members still are an average age of 54. Our average age is 54. We are not digital natives, the people who are 54 and over, not digital natives. Some of this stuff is new for us. And what we're finding is, you know, Carrie Little told me really terrifically clearly, said people don't want to learn what you want to teach them. They want to learn what they need to know.
Yep.
It's the immediacy. Can you talk a little bit about some of the ways that we as instructors or we as associations can make can address that need for immediacy, but secondly, can get our non-digital natives using that immediacy, that need to know, using that kind of immediacy, or being comfortable with, instead of going to class and learning the whole deal, to embrace that need for immediacy?
No, that's a fun question. I guess here's how I guess I would look at that. Carrie's absolutely right. It's not about me telling you and showing my knowledge in a topic, right? That's why I haven't launched a webinar yet, because even though I believe it's a true thing and people need to do it, you really haven't seen the desire for it a whole lot. But with that, it's being said, it's being out there, it's known. So I think there are two things for kind of developing that urgency, so to speak. And one is simply to build that urgency, show people that are succeeding in these avenues, that are doing it, that are generating business every day by doing that, and showing the why, right? We need to show the why, that it's out there, the success rates that are people happening, that are going out there. A friend of mine showed me an interview done. And it was, I think, last summer, and it was with the father and son, the Ferry sons, or father and son. And it was fun to watch because the conversation was dad, who does things the way he's always known how to do it, and the son, who is trying to run with the tech and push that out. And it was fun to have the commingling, because I think that's really where real estate sits these days. Me and you have talked about it several times, Deborah, where I think it would be a fun thing to do, because I think it would handle what you're talking about as well, is I think sometimes it wouldn't be bad from an instructor's perspective, if I'm tech-based, to have an instructor teach with me that isn't that way, right? So we can hit both conversations for the agents that need to hit that conversation, right? Talking their language.
Yes, I don't know if you've had the experience of being in class and you say, someone asks a question and you don't know what the answer is. And 2 minutes later, someone raises their hand and said, the answer is because they Googled it.
Right.
And that's what Carrie said. People, younger people, the digital natives, they are used to seeking out, to having immediate access to the information they want at the moment they need it. I don't know if it falls out of their head then until they need it again. I don't exactly know what happens to that. But we're going to have to figure out how to build that immediacy into our training, I believe, to give people immediate answers to what they're looking for on that given moment.
I see where you're going with that question now. Okay, so yes, but I think there's a trick to that, right? So yes, one of the things that I think is really huge, and there are companies out there, and I will not mention their names, they are out there trying to build these type of programs. And I really think the biggest problem with most of them, which is why Google succeeds, is they have a lot of amazing training out there, a lot of it. And they're short snippets, they're biteable chunks, right? They're 2-3 minutes, right? We are a short attention span, folks, which, by the way, isn't completely true. But we are as short our attention span as we are interested. And that's where the trick comes out to being. So part of the trick from immediacy and keeping people there is keeping them entertaining and keeping that conversation valuable for them. But the search is huge, right? I need to be able to have a program that is as valuable, but the search has to be more valuable, because if I can't find it, I can't learn it. And that's why Google succeeds right now. Google is considered the DIY platform, because I can sit there right now and say how to write a listing presentation, and I get 40 videos right off the top, exactly telling me what I want to do. And I get to do that. Now, but here's the thing that experts are finding in the training world right now, in the coaching, mentoring, things like that. Those steps are huge. They still want more, right? That helps satisfy the craving. It doesn't satisfy the hunger.
Ooh, I like that.
And training in person, having real people that are out there, is satisfying that hunger.
That goes back to what you said in the beginning, is we're going to see a blend.
Right.
A blend of training.
And see, like for me, I always laugh. I am that agent, and you may lose everybody in the audience right now. And Deborah, I apologize for saying it, but it's the truth for me. I like Zillow. I don't have a problem with Zillow.
I gotta tell you, I'm not mad at Zillow either. So maybe we'll both get kicked out of the real estate community.
It's there, it's available. And what I love about Zillow is I know what they're going to come with when I meet with them, right? I already know their assumptions, because I know they've looked at Zillow. So I already know how to plan for it. And it's the same thing with the learning. I already know if I'm doing my job, I've already tried to use the most common search terms I have seen realtors use. And I'm using them in Google and on the internet, on YouTube, and I'm doing them out there trying to see the training that they're getting online. So I know where the gaps are, or I know where the assumed problems or the challenges are going to exist, so I can come out there and find ways to answer it. So for me, I love the tools. I love the products out there. It makes my job 100% easier, because what I never knew when I first started training, when I was training in buildings and I was training in the industry, was what Tom, the manager, just got done telling them. YouTube already told me what they told them.
Interesting. Justin, I know you're also doing some really other things that are kind of off the real estate track, but are absolutely pertinent to real estate. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the other things you're doing?
So I am a John Maxwell certified trainer, speaker, and coach. I joined them about 3 years ago, 2017. I joined them, and I joined them for really two reasons. Actually, I joined them for one reason, and it really became two. One, I joined them so I can offer more options for the real estate professionals and industries around me, right? So I can have communication strategies. I can help them grow better, be more intentional in their business delivery, right? I can help them with these avenues. But I'll be honest, the unattended consequence for this is it's helped me be more focused, be more intentional, be a better communicator, be more designed for the audience that I'm going after. And it's helped me. So I do a lot of that. And right now, and Deborah might be tired of hearing me say it, but I'm a big DISC fanatic. I love DISC. I love the DISC. It's a behavioral assessment that tells you who you are, quote unquote, why you do what you do. This is not a put you in a box scenario. It's not about that, but it is about understanding who you are, why you handle certain things in stressful situations versus other. But even better, what I really love about it is when I meet with somebody, I know exactly who they are and why they are responding the way they are, so I can communicate to them in their language and how they want to be communicated to. And that's one of the funnest things I do right now.
It's one of the things that NSBAR is working on, building a really strong leadership program. And it's one of the things that I'm focusing on, or that's being focused on in the leadership program, is it's not one size fits all.
Right.
It's just, as a leader, as a salesperson, it's not one size fits all. So I don't really mind you focusing on the DISC program. I think it's something that if you're going to be in sales, or you're going to be a successful human being in the world, if you kind of can get the hang of doing it the way they want to do it instead of the way that you want to do it, kind of works for everybody. Works for everybody. Justin, last words that you would say. What would you, if you were a brand new baby, we talked about this, a new salesperson, but now you're an experienced salesperson. You've been doing this for 20 years already, but you've been doing it in a very traditional manner, Justin. You've been going on wonderful listing presentations. You know your stats, you know all those things. And all of a sudden the world said, you can't talk to people face to face. You have to do something differently than you've always done, and you've done very successfully. What should they do first?
Get on Zoom. You know, one of the, and the reason I say get on Zoom, I don't care what video platform it is. The reason I want you to get on Zoom is I want you to be comfortable talking in this environment, because this is a unique environment, but I still think you can build relationships here, right? I can look you in the eye. I can sit there and do this. I can smile. You can see my personality. You can see this conversation, which kind of goes to a conversation that we've had offline is, you know, if I was to, right now, the way I'm sitting, and I couldn't put my camera around, but where I'm sitting is the outdoor is sitting over on the other side of my light, the other side of my camera. So you can see me in person. You can see me smiling. You can see me being a goofball. You can see everything. And getting used to this, talking to friends, family, doing this stuff is great, because then when you're talking to your client, you just get to be a normal person again. And you get to get used to this without struggling and learning this the first time. Because as we talked earlier, I do believe more than anything else, training has had what's called blended learning for years. That's how we kind of started this conversation. I completely and utterly believe, as a real estate agent, as a brokerage, as a association, there needs to be a blended model in the business these days. It was what I'm calling a blended business model. You need to be able to switch on a dime to whatever program you're going to communicate in, lead generate in, handle your business in, whatever it is. You're going to be able to have to do that from all platforms, from in-person to virtual to a combination of both. So Zoom, I think, is the first great step for that.
You know, the thing that comes to mind with this is that we are going to have to be in this. The changes are coming, and they're coming more rapidly, and that change, the pace of change, I don't think is going to stop. I think it will probably continue to accelerate. We kind of have to be fearless. The amount of people who, when they're in a Zoom class, I don't want anyone to look at me. I don't want anyone to see me. We're just going to have to be fearless and say, okay, so you can see the mess behind me, and you can meet my dog, and the children are here, and all those things. To meet the changes, we're going to have to be, as a profession, we are just going to have to be fearless about what we're doing.
Well, and there's a lot of forgiveness right now, right? I mean, if your dog comes in, no one's going to sit there and go, ooh, that's unprofessional. They're going to give you that forgiveness. 5 years from now, probably not going to be the case, right? So right now, take advantage of it. Take advantage of what I call failing forward. I have been talking about video, being on video for about the last 3 years. And the reason I've been talking about it is because about the last year and a half, it's really come prevalent. And Marquis quotes a stat all the time saying over 80% of all content consumed is going to be via video in the next 3 years. But we're going to get to a point in time, if that is true, where the content can't be blooper reels, right? It's going to have to be real and professional. But right now, we have a lot of forgiveness in our industry. And with the consumers, people are all getting used to this. People are all starting to do this. I mean, we'll see. Yesterday, Zoom collapsed out because all the teachers are the first time doing this all across the world. We're going to see this, but there's a lot of forgiveness right now, and take advantage of it. So don't worry about you're not going to like the way you look. The favorite quote someone told me a long time ago when I was starting to complain about video was, we all know what you look like and we still talk to you.
Oh, I like that. Justin, and I think we're going to end on that. We all know what you look like, and we're still going to talk to you. I love that. Justin, I want to thank you so much for being with me this morning. And I want to remind our viewers that we have a really interesting podcast coming up. A little background on it. We decided to put together a series of inclusivity and diversity podcasts. We did a great one 2 weeks ago. We have another one coming up Friday morning at 9. That's going to address the needs of people who have handicaps. Our speaker on that one will be the director of the Fair Housing Clinic at John Marshall Law School. I think she's going to have fabulous information. And we'll address some of the things, the questions we're having about what do we say when someone says, does anybody in the house have COVID? What about some of those interesting challenges that have just popped up in the last few months? Justin, again, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. I always like when you come and hang with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope you go on to have a wonderful day, and I hope all of you who are viewing also go on to have a wonderful day. Thank you.